Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, YAHAWAH, BaHa SHAM, YAHAWASHI, BaHa SHAM, RAWCHAA QADASH. Double honors to the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations as always to the elect. And I wanted to do somewhat of a response to this video uploaded by the beloved elder brother Manat Zakba. All right, as you can see, his page, GMS Narrator, SC7. Okay, the title of the video that I'm going to be responding to is why do Christians refuse to talk about the fall of world powers? Okay, end of the world. All right, and when it comes to the end of the world, we know that the scriptures does not talk about the actual earth being destroyed forever, as some say. All right. But what the Bible describes and talks about and prophesies is the end of a rulership. OK. And you have many Christians putting their hands on this Bible. OK. And when they talk about the kingdom that comes, they don't talk about Babylon the Great fallen. OK. They don't talk about, the throne of David. What a lot of them do, as, he talked about. And we talked about it earlier. You had this weird Jake Christian, who had a lot of followers, a lot of likes. And he's talking about how the kingdom is going to come. And he's talking about, fallen angels, the Antichrist. And there's always the Antichrist. If there's just one anti-Messiah, that's going to pop up with a trench coat in the latter days with a gold tooth, okay, and ruin every damn thing. No, the Messiah is a spirit. As the scriptures tell you, there's many antichrist or anti-messiahs. And when you look that up, that was speaking about particular people who came amongst the church and who wasn't right. All right. And who ultimately was ordained to be fallouts and to ultimately come against the church. But really, it's a spirit as well. All right, that dwells in this whole world. This whole world has what? An anti-Messiah vibration when it comes to the policies and what people are crying and marching for. Everything that people uplift, it's wicked and it's against the law, statutes, and commandments of YAHAWASHI. Okay, and they want this world to continue. So if you want this world to continue, okay, and you're self-willed, you're an anti-Messiah. OK, there's no one anti-Christ or anti-Messiah that's just going to pop up. But Christians love to just bring in this madness. OK, but they never call out the policies that this power structure. OK, Babylon, the Great America, the NATO, the EU, the things that they're pushing. They refuse to address those things. And when they talk about the kingdom of heaven, it used to be that we're going to be floating around in heaven. Now they're listening to us. Now they know it's going to be on earth, but they never want to tie it to the throne of David. And they never want to tie it to the fall of Esau. And they damn sure don't want to tie it to the Israelites being brought out of captivity, because that will go against the small hats, the Amalekites, okay, who, according to the book of Numbers, they would be the first of the nations. As a matter of fact, let's get the book of 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. In the 7th verse. Okay. 2nd Esdras 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, which shall be the parting asunder of the times, or which shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow it? All right. Now, when you deal with this question, you have to go into what? The history. And you have to know and understand that Isaac promised, all right, both Jacob and Esau world rulerships. OK, but one would come first and the other would follow. One would be temporal. OK, Esau's blessing is temporal, but the other would be everlasting. And that's Jacob. OK, and according to Numbers, the 24th chapter. All right, when a particular heathen Balaam was sent to put a curse on us, the Lord gave him a vision of ultimately what was going to happen concerning the children of Israel. All right. And he saw the Messiah coming, taking down a heathen. And he said a particular thing that's very important. As a matter of fact, I think I have it here. Okay, let's get this. Numbers 24 and 19. Out of Jacob, now this is a vision of end time prophecy. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, that's YAHAWASHI, the Messiah, and shall destroy him that remaineth in the city. Okay, Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed. And when he looked on Amalek, the small hats, he took up this parable. Okay, and when you look at this beast system that controls the world right now, America, which is Babylon the Great, NATO, and the EU, all right, who really controls it is the Amalekites, which they're Edomites, the small hats, the 1948 are the people who say that they're the chosen. They run the banks, Hollywood, and everything else, Monsanto. Okay, and that's a prophecy that what they're doing as they have all of this power, it fulfills what Isaac told them, that they would have the fatness of the earth, the dew of heaven from above, and they would live by the sword. That's their blessing. But the thing is, that's a world domination. Okay, so right here, okay, this particular heathen Balaam saw this vision, and he said when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Reading this in the NLT, then Balaam looked toward the people of Amalek, and he delivered this message. Amalek was the greatest of the nations, but its destiny is destruction. Okay, now when you look up this word first, okay, Amalek was the first of the nations. Okay, RAWCHAA, beginning, chief, beginning, first, chief, choice part. He would have the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above first. Okay, he would be the head, chief, front, beginning. Okay, he would have the fatness of the earth first. So the question being asked here in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, in the 7th verse is, then answered I and said, when shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall the end of be the end of the first, which is Esau's world, in the beginning of it that followed? Now let's prove that that's talking about Esau's world. And when he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world. Okay, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So as the elder is posing this question, okay, why do Christians refuse to talk about the fall of world powers? Okay, when you deal with these Christians, if they're talking about the kingdom, they're damn sure not talking about the destruction of Babylon, and they're damn sure not talking about the fall of the beast system, okay, as pertains to the end of the world, which is the end of Esau's world. Okay, now another thing we said is they never talk about the Israelites being delivered out of captivity. Okay, the final captivity of the Israelites is synonymous with the fall of Esau's world and the beginning of the kingdom of heaven. Point blank period, the Israelites will be delivered out of captivity according to prophecy. Okay, let's get the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter real quick. Then we'll get Daniel and we'll end it. I don't want to make this too long. But this is Jeremiah 30, promises of deliverance. The word that came to Jeremiah from YAHAWAH, saying, thus speaketh, all right, YAHAWAH, the God of Israel, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto you in the book. Okay? For lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity. Okay? I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and my people Judah, saith the Lord. Okay? That's the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? And that's the tabernacle of David. The last time we all agreed as one nation was when we acknowledged David as king and when Solomon forwarded the kingdom for 40 years. But after Solomon's fall, we went through these various different captivities that Daniel, the prophet, describes, which would lead up to us being delivered out of the final captivity, which would be Babylon the Great. And we'll show you. So the thing it says here, I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and my people Judah, saith the Lord, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. All right. And a lot of these Christians like to tiptoe around these prophecies because they are of the opinion, okay, and they can't keep their thing going if they talk down on those people who are in the land, saying that they are a fulfillment of Judah and Israel returning to the Holy Land, which is a damn lie, because it was going to be a miraculous second coming before the 12 tribes return to that land. They're not going to return to that land, okay, on their own. Okay, and they're going to return as all 12 tribes. It's not going to just be the Jews. Where's all of the rest of the tribes? No, and it's going to be a miraculous second coming before that happens, before we return to that land. And the Bible describes it to a T. All over the Bible does it describe how we're going to be gathered from all of these various different nations via in the chariots, perfected and beautified, and then New Jerusalem is going to come down and set up the throne of David on earth. Okay, so he's going to take us out of captivity, which would then say what? If we're at the end, because you got a lot of Christians that say we're at the end. So if you believe that these people are the true chosen people, how do they own everything? And why ain't they in captivity? How do they own Monsanto? How do they own the banks? How do they have all of this control? How do they get billions of dollars in aid annually, sometimes monthly, from Babylon the Great and all of these various different countries for what happened unto them in the form of the HOLO cost, right? They get all kind of money for that. The true Israelites will be in a position where nobody will be seeking their welfare. And they will be through. They will be in a position of difficulty, and they will be prophesying. See, but that's, people don't link any of those things to end time prophecy and how the kingdom of heaven will be ushered in. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahawah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, now let's get Daniel the 7th chapter. Okay, because the kingdom of heaven is synonymous with the fall of a world rulership. Again, what is the elder asking? Why do Christians refuse to talk about the fall of world powers? Huh? Because the majority of these Christians work, all right, for the people who are in power. Okay, and they speak, all right, they try to tiptoe around the reality of things. Okay? Now, this is Daniel the 7th chapter. And it talks about 4 great beasts, all right, that are going to rise, all right, into world rulership. Not world rulership. All of them didn't have world rulership, but kingdoms that would rule in the earth. The only one that would have world rulership will be the revival of Rome via Babylon the Great, the NATO, and the EU. Okay? But when you go down, just get to the point. The 4th beast. Okay? The 4th beast, which, real quick, let's get 2nd Esdras the 11th chapter real quick. Second Esdras the 11th chapter. And 36, then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, it was a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw he sent a man's voice unto the eagle. Okay, and we know who the eagle is. We know the lion represents ultimately YAHAWASHI and the prophets who would have the Holy Spirit speaking against Esau and his system. It says, hear thou, and I will talk with thee. All right. And the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts whom I have made to reign in my world? Okay. So there's 4 beasts who were made to reign, have dominion, rulership in the world, that the end of their times might come through them. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth, and with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. Now, this is speaking of the Roman Empire. Okay, but when you go into prophecy, the Western Roman Empire would fall, which we have videos that link Edom to Rome. As a matter of fact, see if I can play that video here. I happen to be on that page where that video is. Check this out.
But as many are finding out, Edomites, the descendants of Esau, actually made up the Roman Empire. As a matter of fact, the Jewish Encyclopedia also states that the name Edom is used by the Talmudists for the Roman Empire, and they applied to Rome every passage of the Bible referring to Edom or to Esau. Where is Edom today?
All right, so Western Rome, okay, the Roman Empire was synonymous with the Edomites. And you can go find that history. There's a lot of history on it, right? So going back here, the fourth beast, okay, would reign, okay, but it would be revived as we're going to go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, okay? There's more in that chapter, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just jump here. This is Daniel, the 7th chapter, okay? After the Greeks came Rome, right? So let's just keep listening. Daniel 7 and 7. And after this, I saw in the night visions, because we're talking about how the kingdom of heaven has to be ushered in, and how the Christians don't want to deal with how Babylon the Great and a particular rulership in the earth would have to be destroyed in order for that to come, who would oppress the Israelites, okay, and do wickedness. We're living in that. How in the hell do you boasting in the kingdom of heaven, but you're afraid to say America's going to be destroyed? Anyway, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, the Roman Empire, Western Rome in particular. And it had great iron teeth, their military, and it devoured and brake in pieces, took down the heathen, okay, won great wars, had a big, large territory, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, okay? Their military was just dominating, okay? And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. How was it diverse from all the beasts that were before it? Because ultimately they set up a senate, and that's how they brought in their rulers, which that follows unto this day. Before, you know, pretty much the kings would bring their sons in or pass their, you know, rulership down to, you know, particular others and stuff like that. Okay. And the 10 horns represent the vassals or the subordinate states that joined themselves unto Rome. Okay. And pretty much paid them tribute and worked in their interest. Okay. It's many of them. Anyway, that made it a beast system. Okay. It says, and I considered the horns, and there came up among them another little horn. Okay, now we know the fourth beast is the one that's going to lead to the end. But when you go into prophecy, Rome fell. The Western Roman Empire fell, but it was rebirthed into the earth through a renaissance. Okay, so the one that came up among them, another little horn, is ultimately speaking of Babylon the Great, because from the Renaissance until now completes Esau's fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above, living by the sword. This kingdom is the end, all right, of his BS, which Amalek ultimately is at the forefront of it. And this is why you have the regular, everyday Edomites cursing out the Amalekites. Anyway, let's read this in the NLT. And as I was looking at the horns, suddenly another small horn appeared among them. 3 of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. This little horn had eyes like a human and a mouth boasting arrogantly. All right. And we're seeing that now. The 3 horns that were plucked up by the roots going to the French, the Spanish, and the British, because America came out of the British. This is going into prophecy. And it says the little horn, which this is speaking of Babylon the Great, had eyes like a human, okay, but boasting arrogantly, meaning here it is, they're just men, but through their science, they're boasting and conquering the Most High, conquering reality, conquering humanity, conquering the spiritual aspect of everything. Okay, change the being able to change sex and doing all of this madness. We're seeing it. We're seeing them boast arrogantly, man. Okay, but look what happens here. It's through this kingdom I beheld, till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, the Most High. The Most High sets judgment through this fourth beast, who was revived into the earth via Babylon the Great, starting at the Renaissance, but then eventually leading up to Babylon the Great, NATO and the EU. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down. Okay. All of these heathen put in their place. In the Ancient of Days, the Most High God Yahweh did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool, and his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. Okay. So he's getting ready to set judgment. Okay. So you keep reading. Ooh. Let's read that in NLT, verse 10. And a river of fire was pouring out, flowing from his presence. Millions of angels ministered unto him. Many millions stood to attend him. Then the court began its session, and the books were opened, which is the book of life. It's time to deliver the elect and take down these heathen. Okay. So, and we're just about there. Okay. Verse 11 in the NLT, I continued to watch because I could hear the little horn's boastful speech. And are not we hearing the madness that's coming out of the mouth of these Edomites? Okay. The America, Babylon, the Great, NATO, the EU, the climate control, everything that they're talking about. The small hats, with it, Klaus Schwab, the fourth industrial revolution. He's like a real life villain. We're witnessing the boasting of this power structure right before our eyes. And Daniel saw it. Okay. It says, I continued to watch because I could hear the little horn's boastful speech. He's like, wait a minute. The technology, the MOTB, everything. I kept watching until the fourth beast was killed and his body destroyed by fire. And that's going to happen as Babylon the Great is destroyed. Okay. It says the other three beasts had their authority taken from them, but they were allowed to live longer, meaning the other heathen nations, once Esau falls, they're going to have their authority taken from them. Okay. But when it's all said and done, Esau is going to be destroyed forever, but the heathen will have their, they'll just be placed in their lands and lots. And that's a whole nother lesson. All right. But let's keep going. And I saw in a night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heavens. Now, how's YAHAWASHI going to return? Let's get it. Because he's coming to take down all of the heathen. Okay, but Esau is of the only ones that's going to be utterly obliterated. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 1 and 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Okay, and every eye shall see him, and also they which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Aman. Okay, and if you cross-reference that, it's just taking you to, boom, it took you to Daniel 7 and 13. I mean, that's all we need. There's various other scriptures, but boom, just for the point of time. Okay. Because when you read verse 13 13, it says, and I saw in the night vision in the King James, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the cloud of heavens and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him, all right, before him, showing you that the Most High and YAHWASHI are two separate powers. Okay, they agree in one. They're one in the sense of they're agreeing together. All right, YAHWASHI does the will of his Father. Okay, and we are fighting to get back in that order as well. Okay, and what happens? And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. Okay, and a kingdom that all nations and languages should serve. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom is that which shall not be destroyed. So what had to happen in order for this kingdom to come was the fourth beast, okay, which would be, you know, that's the Western Roman Empire, that would be revived into the earth, would live, talk all of this crap, all right? It also, when you go down in this chapter, let's see here. Let's see here. Let me just get to a point. Let's see here. Because he's going to expound on that little horn, which is Babylon the Great, which would be accompanied by the NATO and the EU. That made it a beast, all right? But Daniel, the 7th chapter, in the 21st verse, because he's further expounding on what he saw. He's asking more questions, and you know, he's breaking it down to him. It says, and I beheld the same horn. As a matter of fact, let's start at 19. I started reading the NLT. Then I wanted to know the true meaning of the fourth beast, the one so different from the others and so terrifying, and it devoured and crushed its victims with iron teeth and bronze claws, and trampled their remains beneath its feet. I also asked about the 10 horns, the vassals, all right, the vassal state subordinate, on the fourth beast's head, and the little horn that came up afterward. See, the little horn that came up afterward is the revival of Rome. Remember, the deadly wound was healed according to Revelation, the 13th chapter, right? And the deadly wound was healed through the Renaissance period, which led all the way up to what we know. What is it? The rebirth of Rome. Okay? It says, and the little horn that came up afterward and destroyed 3 of the other horns, this horn had seemed greater than the others, and it had human eyes, and it was a mouth that was boasting arrogantly. All right, and that goes into their science. Here it is, you're just a man, but you're boasting in godlike capabilities through your blessing, through the miracles which you're able to do. And you're boasting arrogantly. It says, and as I was watching, this horn was waging war against God's holy people and was defeating them. Now, who defeated us? What nation took us down as Israelites? The Edomites, in the form of Babylon the Great. Okay? That's how they overcame us. They overcame the northern tribes. They brought us over here, and they had us in a defeated state. Okay? But after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life has entered into us, going back to around the 60s and 70s. We stood up on our feet, a great army. You see? So as I watched, this horn was waging war against God's holy people and was defeating them. Who defeated the holy people? What nation of people took down the Israelites? You Edomites. It's simple. Which you would be in control of that power structure, which leads to us getting the kingdom. As a matter of fact, let's finish this and then we'll go. It says, and to the ancient one, the Most High came and judged in his favor of his holy people. Then the time arrived for the holy people to take over the kingdom. There you go. So the kingdom of heaven will be set up through the fall of a great power structure, Going back to the question the elder asked, why don't you Christians or why don't people like to link the kingdom of heaven as the scripture saith? The kingdom is going to come through the holy people being delivered out of a captivity. And what's that captivity? We'll end it off here. Lamentations 4. Esau is the end of the world, man. Lamentations 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shall make thyself naked. Okay, and that's what's happening to these Edomites right now. They're drunken. They're in slippery places. They're exposing themselves. They're being exposed. Okay, so rejoice. You had world rule. You had rulership. You had dominion. You live by the sword. What Isaac gave you, you used it to a T. You got this sign. You planning on bringing a charagma, your fourth industrial revolution, and all of this BS, right? The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, the Israelites. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So the final captivity, to where the Israelites will never see captivity again, is going to come through Esau, who controls, all right, what is saw by John the Revelator in Revelation, the 18th chapter, in other chapters as well. Babylon the Great, the fall of Babylon, okay, which ultimately is the little horn that issued forth from the fourth beast, okay? And as we were reading in 2nd Esdras, the 11th chapter, once that horn is destroyed, okay, verse 44, the highest have also looked upon the proud times. That's why he's setting judgment, and he's going to send his son, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Therefore appear no more thou eagle, you Edomites, your power structure, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. Your Caesars, which all of them are back here today, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So the kingdom of heaven is synonymous with the fall of a great empire, okay, that is known as Babylon the Great, okay, and is described to a T in prophecy, but for some reason, Christians don't want to deal with it. And then when we go into it, we crazy. Verse 25, Daniel 7:25. Let's start Marita NLT. He will defy the Most High and oppress the holy people of the Most High. He will try to change their sacred festivals and laws, and they will be placed under his control for a time and time for a dividing of times. Okay, and that goes to the Holy Spirit, all right, being placed upon us at the time of Abba Bivens. The hearts of the fathers return to the children, the hearts of the children to the fathers, and eventually from that preaching, okay, led to what you see now. Okay, and what is that going to lead to? But judgment. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. You Edomites' power is going to be taken away and destroyed. And the kingdom and dominion under heaven, and the greatness of the kingdom of under heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Boom. Hopefully I'll edify. Shalom.